Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Pbogz here once again making you a video. Crushing the heads up turbos is what it's called. And this is a video that kind of sums up everything that one requires to be a fairly decent heads up player. One that's a winning player, one that, takes control of the tables and ends up, feeling confident and just, crushing their opponents. So in this video, there is a bunch of different things that I go over. Some are minuscule, some are very important, and other stuff is just strategy stuff that, like you need to be thinking about while playing. Overall, I'm gonna go over some math stuff. Just gonna go over some simple terms. I'm gonna show you how to use certain kind of software to improve your game overall as well. And at the end, we're just going to go over a quick game and just kind of talk about how that went down as well. And just kind of, bring them all together at the end. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and let's get right to it. So what is the big secret that, all these pros aren't telling you about, that, all these winning players are doing that you're not doing? And honestly, there's nothing in particular. It's a bunch of little things. And right off the top, it's hard work and dedication. Nothing in life comes easy. And this situation where you just have to, put the time in, you got to work hard, you got to stay motivated, you just got to know that there's always room to improve. There's always an obligation for you to get better, because if you're not getting better, the players who are just as good as you are getting better, and you're gonna fall behind the curve. So it's an ongoing process that you always need to stay in the ball here. So just dedication. If you want to play poker for a living, if you want to be good at what you do, do it the right way. If you play for fun, then you play for fun, so it's not really that big of a deal. Next is getting volume. This is very big, because what a lot of people don't understand is that variance is a very big factor when it comes to heads up sit and goes, along with a lot of other poker games, MTTs and hypers and stuff like that. Variance plays a very big role, and if you don't play enough, you're constantly going to be up and down, and you're never going to see the real results that you want to see, because no matter how good you are, eventually you're going to go on a decline, and go on quite a little losing streak, and just chuck it right up the variance. So the more you play, the more you'll be able to get that out of the way. Just be able to see your results and your ROI go up, and just be able to print some money there. So getting in a certain amount of volume is very key. And if you're kind of confused about how much you should per day or how much you should per week, always feel free to get in contact with me, and I can answer that for you. Next one is not going on tilt. This one is really, really big. I can't stress to you enough how important this is. I with coaching over the past year, I've realized that people who go on tilt, it's a huge leak, and I see a lot of players who have this. Like, they just can't keep their emotions in check. They think they can, but as soon as they get like 3 bad beats in a row, and just doing everything right and still nothing is going correctly, that is when they lose their mind. That is when they play when they shouldn't be playing, and they kind of just lose all their money, and it's just not healthy for you. And the other thing about tilt is some people just think you should just get off, which is true. If you're the kind of guy who can't, or girl who can't handle your emotions, then get off for sure. But what you really want to strive for is to be able to just not even go on tilt, to just be able to take these beats like it's nobody's business, and just to continue on playing, because eventually you're going to start winning those hands you're getting unlucky in, and then you don't have to worry about getting steamed off and blowing off some steam, going to the gym or something like that. That's obviously a work in progress for everybody. So I would say do the best you can, but your overall goal is just to never go on tilt in general. You want to kind of feel like a robot when you play cards, no emotions at all, and that's the key. Next is healthy body, healthy mind. And this goes back to a few other PowerPoints that I've made, is that when you eat right, when you go to the gym, when you just treat your body the way it should be treated, your brain respects your body more in a sense. And I know that sounds a little bit silly, but when you treat your body real well, and you know, you feed it nutrients, the right kind of food, and you just work out and stuff like that, the brain thinks better, thinks faster. And when you're at the tables, it goes a long way, because sometimes people just have this block in their mind when they're playing, and maybe that's because they're either not playing not living a healthy life. Maybe they're playing under the influence of something. These are big things you need to stay away from for sure. Next is always studying. I mean, me personally, I like to study a lot. Whenever I get something new, or whenever I get something I haven't seen before, I just like jump right in and try to study it. At least once a week is my goal. Sometimes I like to do it more, but at least once is just, you know, it's a necessity. And some things that I like to do is I like to watch videos from other players, obviously, players that I respect, that I've learned from in the past. Another thing that I love to do is record yourself play, because this goes a long way. Because some people think they play like Phil Ivey, some people think they play amazing poker, and then when they watch themselves play, they're like, oh wait, why didn't I c-bet there, or why didn't I re-raise there, or why did I call that all in? It's a little different when you see yourself play, trust me. And if you haven't done it before, I would really, you know, just go for it and see how you like it, because it can change the way you play, just because you're seeing things that you wouldn't have seen just by, you know, being in game. And I think that has taught me a lot as well. And last but not least, get coaching. I mean, if you feel like you just don't know enough, if you feel like you're struggling at the tables and you just need some guidance, or you need someone to tell you what's right and what's wrong, and just kind of, you know, pick your brain a little bit and help you become a better player, nothing wrong with getting some coaching. Goes a long way at the end of the day, and you know, plenty of people to choose from for sure. Alright, so let's jump on to the next slide here.
Alright, so we talked about, you know, having a study session at least one day a week, more if you can. And just, you know, when you're not at the tables and when you have some free time, just always, you know, look to improve yourself by getting into some stuff, if it's watching videos or if it's using different kinds of software. And what I want to talk about in this PowerPoint is, you know, software that can make us better. And throughout the video, I'm going to be showing you ways to use different types of software. For example, ICMizer, which is great for open shoving math and 3-bet shoving math. Flopzilla, which is great for range analysis software. It just gives you a better feel of you know, hand ranges and percentages, and it really can make you a way better player at the tables, you know, with making quicker decisions, because obviously you can't just freeze the game and jump into the software. You have like 25 seconds to make a call or fold, and you just have to be prepared off the tables in order to be prepared on the tables. And also Poker Stove, which is a great software. It's a great tool to figure out equity, and I'll go over all this throughout the PowerPoint and give you guys an idea of how it works and how you guys can use it, and just ways to just use it in general. These are all very important when you're playing cards. Like I said before, the math isn't the end all be all, but it's really good to know where you are when you're playing against certain opponents. And it's just going to improve your game. So if you're thinking about, you know, becoming the best, these things help. And, you know, you can do yourself a favor by getting into this kind of stuff and just working with it when you're not on the table. So let's just jump right into the next slide.
Alright, so before we jump into the video and get all in depth with that, as well as the software stuff, I just want to talk about math, because I remember when I first started playing cards, I tried to find like the simple math to figure out, and when people would explain it to me, they would explain it to me in a way where it was very fast and complicated, and I just didn't quite grasp it. And the most important thing when it comes to these math equations in heads-up sit and goes is that if you don't have it, you know, implemented in your brain correctly, you're never going to be able to do it at the tables when you have a decision to make and you have 25 seconds to make the decision. So I think it's very key to understand the math and have somebody break it down for you, because that's kind of what, you know, people need. Because sometimes people say it real fast, they expect the person to understand it right away because they understand it right away, and it's just not fair to the people who just need to hear it once or two more times, because math isn't their strong suit, or because they just really want to understand it before they, you know, start putting it in their game when they're risking their hard-earned money. So what I've done is I have 3 different math equations here, and I really do break it down here. And I do it not to, you know, just make it very easy on everybody, but just so everybody will understand. And I think this helps a lot more than just, you know, running through it real fast and just kind of being like, okay, well, there it is, and, you know, good luck with that. And then you kind of like, okay, well, I think I understand it, but I'm not sure. So when you're at the table and you're in a tough spot, you're like, well, I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to do it, so I'm just going to fold. And those are the problems that happen, and then you kind of just lose 2 to 3 to 4 weeks of your game because, you know, you just never do the research again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just break it down for you guys and make it fairly easy, and that way you can always, you know, just understand it or come back to this video as well and just, you know, go over it again. So math isn't everything when it comes to heads-up singles, but knowing some math can be vital, and that's very true. A lot of players, you know, like to call themselves math players, some intuitive players. I think knowing both and being a little bit of both is just overall the best way to play. So knowing this math stuff is very important. So the first rule we're going to talk about is the 4 to 2 rule, and I know a lot of you probably know this rule, but there's no reason not to go over it. Some people might not know it, and it's very vital when trying to understand you know, what percentage you have on the flop and turns, as well as, you know, pot odds, and if you get in the right odds to call and stuff like that. It just makes life a lot easier. So basically how the 4-2 rule works is when you have, you know, a certain hand, let's say like a flush draw, and we'll do an example in a little bit, and you're on the flop and the opponent c-bets you. What you got to do is multiply those amount of outs by 4, and let's say you just miss on the turn, on the flop, I'm sorry, and then you're on the turn with that same exact flush draw. Once again, you just multiply that by 2. So basically you multiply your out on the flop by 4 and by the turn by 2. It's fairly simple, right? Yes. But it gets a little more in detail as well. So let's say, like, example, say if you have flush on the flop, this would mean that you have 9 outs to hit your flush, which is correct. So you do 9 times 4 equals 36%. So you have 36% chance to win this hand, which is good to know, right? So the turn is a blank, and now you know and now you calculate your odds on the turn, which is once again 9 times 2 equals 18, which is great once again. So if you have a hand that's 36% chance to win on the flop, that means you're not going to hit 64% of the time. So if you do 64 divided by 36, you'll get 1.7. So that means that you will need a little less than 2 to 1 to make a profitable call, and that goes a long way. So now you can kind of get the feel of, you know, what you can call and what you can't call, and it's very, very helpful when it comes to those certain spots where you're just not sure.